And welcome everybody to the 13th episode of the Hashtag Invest This podcast. I am your host, Scott Bauer, and today we have a very special guest, Mr. Stuart Gethner. Stuart is president of the Phelps Capital and Consulting Incorporated real estate investment firm here in Phoenix, Arizona, and he's also a managing partner at Dobson Property Management. They happen to manage their own rental portfolio. So, Stuart, welcome to the call. Thanks for being here today. How you doing?
Thanks, Scott. It's nice to be here.
So why don't you go ahead and give our listeners a little bit more information about your background and then what you're focused on now?
So the story goes. In my previous life, I'm a pharmacist, and I used to own pharmacies here in town. We had a couple of retail stores and a hospice pharmacy. And one day I was talking to one of my hospice nurses, and she said to me, "Do you know what the number one regret of my patients are?" And I said, "Probably they spend too much time at the office and not enough time with their family." And she said, "Nope, you're wrong." I said, "Okay, what is it?" And she said, "They live their life for someone else." And I got to tell you, Scott, my dad was a pharmacist. My Uncle Max, my grandpa was a pharmacist. I went into pharmacy because I couldn't make it in Major League Baseball, which I would love to have done. But at the end of the day, I also love real estate investing. And I realized that if I don't start working on what I want to be doing, before I know it, life will pass you by. So I had a chance to sell my pharmacies and the interest in those, and I started my own real estate investment company. And over the years, we've accumulated rental property. And that's our opinion, the long way to create wealth in real estate. But we still do a fair amount of focusing on wholesaling, and once in a while, we'll be able to get in a fix and flip or two.
So first and foremost, the question is, pharmacist to real estate investor. Where did that come from? Where did real estate come in? Because you could have gone a ton of different ways other than real estate investment. How did you make that decision?
So as you take a look at the Forbes list of top 100 and where those folks made their money consistently over the years, it's in real estate.
Yeah.
And sometimes, I'd rather be lucky than good. And just common sense tells you, if you're the average person and you're not born with a silver spoon in your mouth and you want to get ahead, what are my options? This one's yelling at you and screaming from the top of the mountain.
Yeah. Yeah. And I resonate a lot with that as well, because when I was getting into real estate, it was, what area, you look around everywhere, and everywhere is real estate. It doesn't matter whether you're in a parking lot, whether you're in a office building, whether you're in your own personal home, everything is real estate. So yeah, I resonate with that a lot.
Right. So that's how I got. So when the opportunity presented itself, I took advantage of the opportunity.
And so where was the real start? Did you buy rental property to begin with? Did you start a fix and flip or a wholesale deal, or how did you get started? What was the first deal for Stuart?
So the very first deal was actually a fix and flip I did in Mesa, Arizona. That I knew the folks, and it was one of those grandma die deals where they just wanted to get rid of it.
Yep.
And I found that very lucrative. But as I started to get more and more into the business, I realized that you can make a lot of money at fix and flipping. However, it's very inconsistent as far as when the next deal is going to present itself, or too many deals at once. And so if you look more for a more even cash flow, then buy and hold was the way to go. So I had the opportunity to buy a condo, inexpensive, and I tried that as a rental. And from there, we just grown our portfolio. We just closed on a fourplex last week. That's our third fourplex that we've purchased, along with 3 vacation rentals that are on VRBO. And we have a little over 30 properties in our portfolio.
So that's a pretty substantial amount of properties that you have to manage on a monthly basis. And like I said at the beginning of the call, you are managing your own portfolio of rentals. So let's dive into that just a little bit. What does that look like?
So if there was an old expression in real estate investing, it's a good gold nugget that I learned a long time ago. And that is, if you have problems with your tenants, the problem isn't the tenants. The problem is the person picking the tenants. And so if you're selective with who you pick, that's not to say that people aren't going to go through divorce or get a job transfer or have an illness, because of course that's just life. But you can really cut down on the headaches that you have by picking quality tenants and taking care of your property. So for us, my associate, her name is Liz, and she has an assistant named Hillary, and we manage our own properties. So we stay on top of them, and for the most part, my experience has been 90 to 95% of the time on a property, if you take care of the minor repairs, they give you very few headaches. Now, with that said, I know at some point it may become unmanageable. If we buy a 10-plex or a 16-plex or a 24-plex, because we're growing, at some point we'll have to look at what our options are. But for me, I had an opportunity to invest in a condo out of state in Las Vegas. And that, for me, that was a nightmare, because whenever the toilet broke, we need a new toilet. It's not just we need a new plunger. And so I couldn't tell if I was getting ripped off, or if my property manager's brother-in-law was the plumber and he was out of work and needed some money. So unless you trust the boots on the ground and you're investing out of state, that's the nugget there. You have to have the boots on the ground. So we're very comfortable with the portfolio we have in the Phoenix area. And for right now, that's where we'll stay.
And that's a very, very important point that I want to pick out as well. And I'm glad you brought that up, because there are some people, here in the Phoenix market, I've heard time and time again, people will say, oh, there's no deals here, or, oh, there's no, the inventory's low, which it is here in Phoenix, but that does not mean that there are not deals here. I mean, I'm finding deals all the time. You're finding deals all the time. There are more deals out there than what you think there are. And so there's no need to go necessarily out to a different market. Really, probably in any market that you're in. I mean, it's just being better at finding those deals and knowing what those look like and where they're at. I think some people will go outside of their market because they hear that another market is better or worse, whatever it may be, but it's unnecessary. So do you have any big thoughts on that?
Scott, you're spot on. Really no reason to add more. You're exactly right. We just go ahead and do what we do. And the chatter that you hear on the sidelines about there's not enough deals or it's too competitive, I let that be chatter while we keep answering the phones and writing offers. And, we're slammed. And it's not to say we can't be busier, but certainly there are a lot of opportunities. And we cannot corner the market on them all. There's enough for everybody.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. And so what is your primary focus now? I mean, you had mentioned you have vacation rentals. So you have other rentals. You have 30 properties total. What is the best and worst of those 30 properties? Is the vacation rentals a better return? Do you like standard rentals better? What are the pros and cons there?
We can have a conversation about all types of, and I'm sorry for the background noise. We have a conversation about all types of properties. They all have their strengths and their weaknesses, but we're in the path of growth. And for us, growth means acquiring more so we can have better cash flow. Yep. So we're looking, I would rather buy 10 properties from one person than one property from 10 people. So our marketing is focused on what we call whales, people that own more than one property, over 55 years old. Maybe they're looking to liquidate or they're seller finance, and they've owned the property for 15 years or more. So they have a substantial amount of equity. So they could maybe finance or give a deal. So that's what we're focused on, regardless whether they're love to do multifamily, would do duplexes and triplexes. As a real estate investment firm, we don't know what we're going to do with a property until we evaluate it. So We'll start looking for something, but serendipitously something else will come our way, and it works out well.
Well, and would you agree that you also, you kind of hit that on the nose as well. You don't know what you're going to do with the property until you actually look at it. So you don't say no to any opportunity until you've had a chance to actually analyze it, figure out these are my options. Should I buy it? Should I flip it? Should I wholesale it? Should I keep it as a long-term? Should I keep it as a vacation rental? Should I tear it down and rebuild something new, right? There's tons of different options that you have, but you never know until you look at every opportunity.
You're exactly right. So even though you may be a fix and flipper or you may be a buy and hold person, a different strategy may present itself, and you want to look at it from all possible perspectives. So it may not be a good deal for you, but you may be able to call Scott or call another person in your network that it'll be an opportunity for. And that's really how you get ahead from our perspective. It's the relationships that we have, and they're special to us, and we honor them.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, with that being said, I also want to say, because there's all different types of listeners that are listening to the podcast, and there are some that are advanced and some that are new. I know when I first started, kind of the shiny object syndrome, or the squirrel, type of syndrome out there, with different types of real estate. So you can make money in all different areas, whether you're fix and flip cash, keeping a rental portfolio, whether you're wholesaling. I mean, there's all different ways, right?
Right.
So I would say it's important until you're vested in the business for a while and you've known kind of what to do and you've done these types of deals in different aspects. Don't get overwhelmed with all the types that are out there. Try to just stick with one and really get good and proficient at that one before you go try to do everything. Would you agree with that?
Again, Scotty, you're spot on. When we work with our clients, we make sure that we can't be all things to all people. So you can't be all things to all people. What is your sweet spot? What are you trying to accomplish as a startup business or business owner? What is your ideal client? And then let's focus on that instead of just taking whatever comes our way. Because whatever comes our way just like you said, shiny object syndrome. You can get distracted, and then those distractions lead to discouragement, and that doesn't work for anybody.
Yeah. And once again, you're spot on there too. So thank you for sharing. Now, I know that you have an event coming up, and that event is going to kind of showcase the different areas about real estate. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
You do. So for the past 15 years, I've been an instructor at the real estate school, and I just I love educating, and it's something that I just enjoy doing. I'm passionate about it. And in last September, we put on a one-day where we went over the various aspects of beginning investing in real estate. It was on a Saturday. We did it for one day. I spoke for that whole day, and we got so much positive response out of it. We decided to do a 3-day, which will be April 12th through 14th. Of this month, just next week, and I'm bringing in speakers and guests from out of state. So I'm not going to be speaking the whole time, and I got some powerful speakers. I got Bob Bloom coming in from Texas with the new tax law changes, the right way to set up your entities, and he calls it asset defense. Matt Terrio's coming. He has a #1 podcast on iTunes for real estate investing. I'm very flattered he's coming in. He'll be educating on out-of-state markets. I got Ben Williams coming. He's coming from Nevada. He's going to talk about how to use not just your IRA money, but others' 401k, self-directed, to invest in our market. Aaron Chapman's going to be there from Security National Mortgage, and he's licensed in 23 states, and he knows financing. And my experience in investing, even in business, it's all about the financing. Mm-hmm. So if your financing in order and deals change and markets change, and so we're bringing him in. And I got a local celebrity, this guy that does the Real Estate Power Hour here in Phoenix. His name is Jason LaFresh. He's on 9:10 a.m. He's coming, and he's going to talk about he's done over 900 flips since 2008. So he certainly is an expert, and he's a keynote as well. So I'm flattered these guys are coming. They're coming to educate. We really don't, the guys on the radio, it has nothing really to sell. And so at the end of the day, if interested in learning, regardless of what level you're at, beginner or advanced beginner or experienced, there's always something to learn. And so we're going to be out there educating. I'm going to have a success panel. Amy Frink from Chicago Title, Sean Wodle from National Real Estate Insurance Group, Mike Corget from LM2 Lending. And these guys, they provide value. So I'll guarantee if you show up, even if it's just for a day, you'll leave there with more knowledge, and what more could you ask for?
Yeah, 100%. And, that brings me to another point that I think is important for the listeners to understand is that we're always learning. If you're a real estate investor and really any person at all, you should always be, we're on a lifelong journey to continue to learn. That's what makes you better. That's what makes you more educated. Just going to school and going to get your degree from a university or you get your bachelor's or your master's, sure, that's a great accomplishment. But if you stop learning there, then you're going to fail later in life because this life is changing ever so rapidly, especially with technology today. I would say, you have to be a continuous learner. Otherwise, you're going to fall behind.
Again, you're spot on. And I chuckled at the guys when they graduated from school and said, I'm never going to take another class again. I hate school. I'm done learning. And that's where their education ends for the rest of their life. That doesn't work. So I'm a different kind of learner. I didn't do well in grade school or high school or so because I don't like sitting and listening for an hour lectures and then taking an exam. I like doing. I like hands-on. And so that's when I put on these conferences and expo, I make them hands-on so that people actually write things down, have experiences that they leave with, and that leaves a better impression, I think, than just someone lecturing all the time.
Yeah, can't agree more. And kind of speaking of that, what would you say about the different types of? Do you have a favorite type of style of investing in real estate? I mean, I know each one is different, but what is your favorite type?
So I'd have to do a 1A and a 1B. So a 1A would be an investor who just lends me the money at a very low interest rate and doesn't want a piece of the action. So that would be called like a debt partner instead of an equity partner. So that would be my favorite, 1A. And then 1B would be taking a property over subject to and then selling it on a lease option. That would be those two are my favorite. I've done them both, and they always seem to be the most profitable. So if you have any of those, you don't want them, Scotty, please send them my way.
Well, and yeah, I was going to say, those are they're very profitable, but they're also very tricky. I mean, you have to know what to do in order to get that done. So,
Sure.
People can learn about this at your event this upcoming week, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Thanks for mentioning that. Absolutely. Thank you.
So, with that being said, you've kind of given us some good nuggets, some good information, but if you were to say, what is your number one #invest this tip to keep our listeners kind of moving forward, to keep them both in their business and their life, what would that be?
To never, 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 never quit.
That's huge. That is so big.
And even today, not today, but even today, there are some times when deals go south or things happen where I just shake my head and it gets very frustrating. And you say to yourself, I don't need this. I should just quit. And you don't, because that's what helps you grow. And that's what makes you a better business person.
Yes, 100%. Can't agree with that more. And that just happens to be one of my major tips as well, is to just never quit. Because if you never quit, you never lose. The minute you give up and you quit, now you've lost, right?
You're right.
So thank you for sharing that. I know you're an avid reader. Do you have a favorite book?
Sharon Lecter expounded on the book. It's called Outwitting the Devil.
Yep.
And it was a Dale Carnegie book. That's probably one of my favorite books. Yes.
What would you say the impact of that was on your life? Because I actually have not read that book, surprisingly, but I will be buying it today. The
Two Epiphanies I had from that was, in order for me to have more in my life does not mean someone else has to have less. In other words, there's enough for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that if you'll believe the world is a yin and yang, where it's positive and negative, then you're always going to have negative thoughts or negative things come into your mind, and it's your job to control that and focus on the positive and prosperous. So you can never get away from the negative thoughts. You can't get it, but you can control them and have the awareness of when you're having them to kick them out and tell them that they're not wanted.
Yeah. Yep. 100%. So the awareness of that information is really the big important piece of that. Now, I know that you give a lot of advice. You have a lot of life experience at this point, not only in real estate, but you're not from Arizona. You're from Chicago, right?
I am.
So that whole move, similar to myself, moving from the Midwest, just out of your comfort zone to a whole different location, you have a lot of life experience. You have a lot of business experience. But who are your mentors, and what is the best advice you've ever been given?
God, that's a great question. My dad gave me some great advice, and he told me that I should have a core business in addition to the hobby. A core business where it brings you in steady cash flow, like a pharmacy or some type of entity like that. To be a business owner, not to be an employee, but a business owner. And then you take the proceeds, the profits from that business, and that's what you use for investing. And it sounds so simple, but at the end of the day, my dad was spot on.
Yeah, spot on. And of course, like you said, I mean, it sounds simple, but it is not that simple.
No, and you've heard this before too, Scott. Real estate may be easy, but it does not mean there's no hard work. There's still hard work. But
the concept is easy.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
But going out there and understanding people and understanding, I mean, you're right there. It's very much, it's very hard work, really. I mean, it takes a long time to learn. It's not something you learn overnight. And like I said, it's changing so rapidly right now. I mean, it's crazy what's going on. So
that's correct. But to be a part of it means that you're a part of it and you're not watching from the sidelines. And I'd rather go down swinging than wish I would have.
that's right. 100%. So you're putting on this event next weekend.
We are at the Orange Tree Golf Resort at 56th Street in Shea.
Okay.
And it's a 3-day, the 12th through the 14th. I remember those dates because it's Friday the 13th this year.
Oh, nice.
And even if you can just, people can want to come out just for a day or half a day, I guarantee they'll be able to learn something, some gold nuggets. Got some quality people coming in, got some quality people already in Arizona. Scott, you're going to be there as well. I'm honored to have you.
Yes.
You're on our success panel, and as well as you should be. So, yeah, I'm inviting everyone, and it's easy way to get a hold of me.
Well, we'll get to that next, but how, and that's one big way that you're giving back. I mean, you've already said that you like to teach people, you like to educate people. That's what you're passionate about. So what else do you do? How else do you like to give back? I mean, other than putting on amazing events like you're doing this next weekend.
So I love animals. And so we have a animal shelter across the street from us called Home for Good. And so as well as the Humane Society, and out of every transaction, we donate $100.
Okay.
So I'm a big animal fan, and that's my way of giving back to my community.
Now, I mean, I've known you for a while. How many dogs are you up to now?
We were up to 4. We lost Lizzie. Unfortunately, she passed, and so I'm ready for another 1 or 2. I'm not sure our lovely bride's ready for them, and I do want to stay married. But dude, I would take them all.
Yes, I'm sure you would. So, and that's awesome. I think that's something that's kind of overlooked. I mean, everybody knows that animals are abused, and there's lots of animals out there that are not, do not have homes. And so you're helping with the shelter and even contributing part of every closing to help them out is huge. And so I'm sure, I'm going to thank you for that. And I'm sure they thank you as well. So, how can the listeners reach you? I'm sure after this podcast, they're going to have lots of questions and want to reach out to you. How can they find you?
So even if they listen to this after the event, easy to reach me. Got a website. It's called Contact Stuart. ContactStuart.com and STUART, STEWART, however you want to spell it. You'll get to my website, and if you want to register for the event, see what it's all about, it's there. There's a button there if you want to email me. There's a phone number. We answer our phones. Happy to respond. And again, I guess that's how I give back.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being here today, Stuart. I really appreciate the information all about, kind of all the different aspects that you have on real estate, right? I mean, not just fix and flips, but also wholesaling your portfolio that you have that you guys are managing. And kind of the problem with tenants as well. I think that's huge. It's not the problem with the tenant, that quote that you said. It's not the problem with the tenant. It's the problem you picking the tenant. Right.
So once you become more selective, I think you'll find you have a lot less headaches.
Yeah. And I mean, that in and of itself is huge. The hashtag tip to never quit is one that everybody should remember. So thank you for sharing that and making sure all the listeners understand that is really the game changer. Just do not quit and you will not lose. Outwitting the devil, of course, making sure that you're keeping your dad, giving you some good advice with the core business plus your hobby.
Thank you.
And, the event that you're going to be having next weekend, I know everybody listening to the call should be there. Like you had mentioned, I will be there as well. And it's going to be a lot of information that you're not going to want to miss out on. So go to contactstuart.com to, reach out to him and find out more information. And other than that, thanks again for being here today, Stuart.
Been my pleasure. Thanks, Scott, for having me.
We'll talk to you soon.
Have a good day.
You too.